episode 1 of Outside the Den, the podcast for Lions fans by Lions fans. My name is Jake, and I'm joined by my brother Josh.
Howdy.
And some special guests we may see later on in the show. But first, Josh.
Hey, this is not affiliated with the Lions whatsoever. This is just a few Lions fans having fun, trying to record the memories of this season. Last couple seasons have been great, and we kind of started out doing a little video stuff, and now we're gonna actually have some in-depth conversation and act like we're experts.
It sounds good. I feel like that's every analyst you see on TV, right? They think they're an expert. But are they in the locker room? Are they, biting kneecaps, There's only one team I know that does that. But, yeah, you are correct, Josh. The last couple seasons have been something quite special. It seems like just yesterday you were dragging me to those god-awful 0-16 games. So, but let's get started. As you said, we're not affiliated with the Detroit Lions. This is Outside the Den, or some other name we may come up with. It's currently untitled, but, let's test out a couple things, and let's just have a good time.
Yeah, that first bit there, you were a little low. I didn't have your levels. So we're all, we're rookies here.
We are rookies here, much like a lot of the players we're not going to see tonight in tonight's Hall of Fame game. All right, so let's get started, though. First segment, we're going to talk about our last season's favorite moments, right? Last season, the Lions went 15-2, locked up the number 1 seed in the first round bye in the playoffs. Definitely the best regular season this Detroit Lions team has ever had, maybe ever, but definitely within the modern era for sure. So, Josh, do you have a top moment from last year, whether it's a play or just something special about last season that you want to talk to whoever may be listening out there, whether it's us, whether it's 1,000 people or just us in a couple months, looking back at this?
Well, that's exactly what we did last year is we rewatched, or at least I did anyways, after the unfortunate exit from the playoffs. I rewatched the videos we put together and found a lot of good moments, and I have to say that just based off of how this team is built and that grit to come back, that Texans Jake Bates walk-off field goal has to be one of my top moments. The video that we have of it, basically, everybody's just disappointed that first half, and then that second half, they come back, and then they set themselves up to win. And a lot of people use that same old Lions phrase, they find a way to lose, or they snatch, from the victory of defeat from the victory of winning. I forget the phrase.
It's called being a rookie, Josh. I understand what you mean. They snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. The context behind that game is Jared Goff. Yeah. That's a soundbite we got to have right there.
That's definitely.
A little freeze right there.
Oh, yeah.
Nope. Okay, we're good.
It's recording.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, so Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Lions down multiple scores going into that second half, but man, did they turn it around. And friend of the family, Tyler Brown, with a clutch move of the giant industrial fan in the pole barn here, helped to prevent Kaimi Fairburn, the Houston's kicker, from kicking I believe it was a tying field goal. So, a fantastic moment, a moment we got to share with a number of friends and family here at the pole barn for these fun watch parties we've been doing, especially in the last couple seasons. For me, it's having grown up a Lions fan my whole life, having gone to games for many years with you, just seeing a lot of these dominant victories were a lot of fun. But somebody who played football, a little bit on the heftier side, I love seeing my fat guys score. And so, something's maybe not my top moment, but damn, a special moment I want to highlight is just Dan Skipper, coming in as eligible tackle, catching a touchdown, and an unfortunately heartbreaking loss to the Buffalo Bills. A game I did not get to go to, but, would have been disappointing to have gone to. But if I had to pick one single moment, as much as it hurts to reflect on, as it was former offensive coordinator, now current Ben Johnson's head coach, kind of ultimate seal on his resume for the Chicago Bears head coaching job, which he took this past season. But the fumble bum trick play was just really the Lions going into their bag, showing how lethal their offense is, while just making an absolute mockery of the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Bears. Just truly something special, especially a game that we got to go in person as a family. Yeah. At least your intermediate family and our intermediate family as well. Yeah. So it's definitely something very special we got to share with our sister Stephanie, who is unfortunately in enemy territory living in Chicago. Yeah. But definitely a special moment that you definitely can't rule out, no matter what that meant for the future of the Lions. But regardless, the future is sure bright.
And a shout out and a side story there. My youngest son Carter, we're still working out a way to steal the bean. We're gonna hitch it up to the vehicle, and we're gonna drive it down the road. By the time it gets to our house, it might be an actual size of a bean.
I do want to add a disclaimer that that this is parody.
Very much parody.
This is nothing regarding any potential heist or any criminal activity. This is all for fun and total parody. All right. Well, that is fantastic. So thank you for sharing that, Josh. And, we talked so much so far about the positives of last season, the ups we've seen, the many touchdowns we've scored. And if we haven't mentioned it, we're definitely thinking about it constantly. But darn, there were some letdowns, too, to go with those incredible highs. What's a letdown that's fresh in your mind, and definitely not on that prepared paperwork that I provided for you today?
It's my jersey jinx.
Please elaborate.
Okay, so I stopped buying jerseys of active Lions players just because every time I did, it seems like they got traded, they retired, or whatever you want to call it. So you can put this blame on me.
And we will.
It's a stretch.
And we will.
But I wore, during the blackout home game, I wore Hutch's jersey. I had to borrow from my son, but I wore his jersey. He gets hurt the next game. That's my fault.
So that is your fault, Josh.
It is. I take that blame.
Every low we had.
I'm the biggest letdown of last season.
You know what? As much as I want to agree with you, I don't, because the thing is I mentioned the Lions went 15-2, locking up the NFC North, locking up the NFC, getting that 1 seed. I think, at the end of the day, we were on borrowed time. We were playing, our offense was playing, firing on all cylinders, really not missing a beat. A couple of bad errant throws here, maybe a turnover here and there, but generally putting up more than enough points to win games. Unfortunately, I just think the ending is probably the most disappointing. Yeah. The Lions did not come into this last season, the 2024 season, the Super Bowl favorite, but there were weeks where they were the Super Bowl favorite. People saw them and were like, how does anyone stop this team? And we figured it out. ACL tears, dislocated kneecaps, Hutchinson leg snap in 3 different places, and I think that we really saw that come around. Obviously, there was some questionable play from Jared Goff, maybe some questionable play calling or decision making from Ben Johnson or the rest of the members of that offense, but just that divisional round exit to the Washington Commanders, should be the Washington football team, but that's a controversial take for another day. But yeah, so that first round exit, very rough. I think, once again, I think you make all 32 teams 100% healthy going into the playoffs. I do think the Lions come out on top with just their offense playing at the level they did. They seem to be playing at a top 5 defensive level before losing their key defensive players, and having guys off the street just step into starting roles, trying to guard some of the most dangerous players, especially that Jaden Daniels at quarterback. But yeah, no, so I think, once again, there were some incredible highs that we all celebrated, a lot of hugs shared in this pole barn alone, a lot of celebratory screams, a lot of Gridiron Heroes sung here on the karaoke machine. But at the end of the day, too, it did end on a pretty sour note for us, and there were some lows to go with those highs. So we talked about our highs. We talked about our lows. So tonight, July 31st, 2025, is the first preseason game of this NFL season. The Hall of Fame game played in Canton, Ohio, a location, obviously, where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is located. Me and our father, Steve, who's in the audience right here.
Yes, Steve, shout out to our audience.
Yep, all 2 of them.
All 2 of them.
We appreciate you all. We appreciate you both. But yeah, we got to check it out. Not the stadium itself; it was closed down at the time. But we did get to check out the Hall of Fame. But yeah, so we're playing the Detroit Lions are playing the Los Angeles Chargers tonight. The Chargers, generally considered a pretty strong team. They play in a very tough division in the AFC West. They got a very talented quarterback. They've had some really good standout players, but they just can't seem to get it done in the playoffs, which, in the Lions' very short amount of appearances we have seen in my lifetime, the Lions have at least won a couple games last year. Chargers can't say the same. So the biggest thing, though, is that we're going to talk about our predictions for the game. A key point I want to bring up is obviously there are some very incredible players on both of these teams. I would argue more for the Lions because they're a more complete team, in my opinion. But we're not going to see some of our stars tonight. Just throw out a couple names. Jared Goff, our franchise quarterback. Amon-Ra St. Brown, all-pro wide receiver. Jameer Gibbs probably could have led the NFL in rushing if we didn't have that stud Montgomery in that backfield as well. Sam Laporta, our sister Tori's favorite. We love a cute man named Sam. As well as our Aiden Hutchinson coming back, firing on all cylinders. But, we don't want to see those players play unnecessary games. We don't want to risk them getting hurt after, especially the trauma we had last season. A little thing to note as well is that it seems like none of our rookies, or at least our top drafted rookies, will be playing tonight as well. So it seems like tonight's really going to be the practice squad, kind of the guys on the practice squad or guys trying to make the practice squad, really showing out to see if they deserve a spot on this roster. And it does seem like Allen, not Hendon Hooker, will be starting the game, at least from the reports that I have seen. I do know that Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen will both be taking snaps tonight, but it does seem like Kyle Allen will be starting, which I think is an interesting choice, but maybe it's a decision to get Hendon Hooker the fire under his belly as they're competing for that number 2 quarterback spot. But yeah, so let's talk about the prediction for tonight's game. I believe, as I checked yesterday, the lines on the sports books right now put the Lions at a 1.5 point favorite, so -1.5, which means that they're expecting the Lions to win by at least 2 points. Obviously, it's kind of tough to predict a preseason game. You don't know what they're going to be trying out. There's obviously 2 new coordinators, offensive coordinator who's been in the program a couple of years ago, but is now freshly back after being with the Denver Broncos last year, and Johnny Morton, as well as in-house hire, I think fan favorite, especially favorite within the Tkachuk household, Calvin Shepard, taking over Aaron Glenn's spot as well. But Josh, how do you think tonight's game is going to go? Are we going to see anything special? What do you think the score could be?
I think it's going to be a very vanilla game, just like everybody predicts preseason. Don't show your hand too much. And like you said, we're going to see some practice squad bubble players, so, they might have a fire underneath them to pull out a victory. It'll be a close game. I would like the Lions to be on top, but from the sounds of it, Harbaugh has to start some of his prime players, so he's looking for a win in this game for whatever reason. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like very vanilla game, both offense and defense, but I think we will see a tight game. Just because we're going to have, just the whole fabric of this team, everybody's heard the culture aspect of this team. And if you watched Inside the Den last night, you got to see some of those draft picks and how that, worked out. I'm pretty sure Tesla's probably going to be a favorite just based off of, him growing up in the area.
Yeah, the hometown kid.
Hometown kid, yeah. So I think it'd be, like I said, vanilla, but close game, and I do think the Chargers are going to come on top, maybe by a field goal.
Yeah. I as much as I want to be the homer and root for the Lions every game, or I will obviously root for the Lions every game, but pick the Lions every game, I do think that the Chargers just are going to be playing some more players, maybe try and get them a confidence boost. And I think the Lions, having been near the top of the mountain and just concerned with making sure that their star players are healthy and just not valuing winning a preseason game, which I don't think any of us really care too much. We just want to see our player. We want to see some young talent or bubble talent, show that hey, our special teams are ready to continue to dominate. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I do think that I am going to be the inverse, just so we have one person. We have one Lions little thing pop up. I do think the Lions are going to pull out, but I do think it'll be close. I think they will win by 6 points, so either 2 field goals or a touchdown with I don't know who the Chargers kicker is, and I personally don't care. I think his last name is actually Dicker the kicker. I'm not even kidding, if memory serves me right. Yeah, so I'm going to say the Lions win by 6 points, covering the spread easily. Just like how you have the Chargers covering the spread. But yeah, I think we're going to see not too many standout plays. I don't think we're going to see any crazy trick plays. I could see them doing it for fun because it is on national TV. Maybe something crazy with Hendon Hooker, but I think they also know how valuable having backups are and usable backups are. So I don't think they're going to throw Hendon Hooker on some crazy QB keep for a 40-yard gain.
He might choose to do it on his own.
Hey, you know what? Yeah. And if he can do it and not not get hurt and go score a touchdown that way, that'd be pretty electric. It'll get us excited and pumped up here. But yeah, so yeah, we'll go with that. So we have the Chargers by 3 and we have the Lions by 6. All right, sounds good. All right, so let's go back to the itinerary. Okay, so now we're going to bring in a special guest for a special segment we like to call. Let's kind of introduce it before we announce what the segment is. So everybody's got that person in their family, who thinks that the Lions are going to go 17-0 every year. Who thinks that Tom Kennedy is going to go in there and throw for 400 yards as a, sixth-string receiver. And sometimes they're right, Josh, do you remember a crazy play call that ended up being correct?
Yeah.
Made by this gentleman?
The Jared Goff receiving touchdown. Although the quarterback for that wasn't Hendon Hooker, but it was Amon-Ra. And it was one of those plays that literally after it happened, I looked at my boys and they both with their jaws open. Oh my gosh, Grandpa called it. And it happened. So
yeah, and that's the craziest thing is I think when you've been around the sun as many times as this man, you've seen many of all sorts of things. However, I was wondering when I heard that call and I saw it happen, I was like, for a man who doesn't drink, man, what was he drinking that day?
The Kool-Aid.
So
he was drinking the Kool-Aid.
So
come on.
We're gonna introduce the segment we call Steve's Crazy Play of the Game, and so we're gonna bring our dad Steve on camera, and we're gonna see what his crazy play prediction of the game is. So Steve, make your way down.
And we're back.
We're back. So, Dad, you know what? It's only fair that you get a chance to talk about, maybe some of the stuff we've talked about. Let's do a little rapid fire session before we actually start Steve's Crazy Play of the Game, prediction of the game. So, Dad, do you have a favorite moment from last year, whether it was a play that sticks out in your mind, maybe a moment with family and friends, on our many trips, maybe out of, or maybe many trips to Ford Field, or even some of the away games we got a chance to go to. Do you have any things you want to share with the group?
Well, I usually like the passing game. And with Jared Goff, accurate, crisp passes for touchdowns, those are my favorite. I love watching Gibbs run. I love Jamison Williams run and some of the plays that they use to make use of their talents is really exciting. I think here I am. Okay. But you want some words of wisdom from an old
Let's hear it, Dad.
Okay. I'm against them holding their people back. Number one, Dan Campbell has a lot of guts, and he takes chances all the time. Take chances with your people. Get them ready for the start of the season. Get them out there and flowing. I think last year they stubbed their toe a little bit at the get-go because they didn't play much in the preseason. So I say use them and get them ready to go.
Oh, we just lost connection. We're fine. Keep going.
Okay, no problem.
Okay?
All right. Well, Dad.
And I'm the one that says they're going to win every game. So.
And you were closer than anybody else last year.
That's true. I think I was 12-5, and Josh I think was 16-1, and the rest of us were between 13-4, and I think I was probably the lowest, just being the pessimist that I can be. But yeah, so
hopefully they've solved the issues on Jared Goff getting the right protection. We don't need him scrambling. He's not like the other quarterbacks. As a matter of fact, all the scramblers bore me to death. I like.
You like clean pocket passing, huh?
Well, trick plays too, but I like to see them use Goff to his strengths.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing, Dad. Do you want to quickly throw out just one disappointment from last season?
Well, the disappointment, I guess, is not being able to handle the running quarterback.
Yep. So I think we're kind of in agreement of that. They did a great job stopping the run. I think 2 running backs the entire season hit their over on rushing yards, or at least 2 starting running backs, because I know that there were a couple backups that had, decent games. But, yeah, just containing on the outside has been tough, and, you can definitely compare that with injuries, but that's a trend we've seen the last couple seasons, and we're hoping with some re-signing of guys, as well as just the emergence in some of our secondary and linebacker play, we hope can really help with that. So, but let's get back to the segment why you brought you on, besides just wanting to spend some good time with our wonderful father here. So we call this Steve's Crazy Play of the Game, as my brother Josh mentioned. He somehow did predict that Jared Goff would in fact have a receiving touchdown. He did not get the quarterback throwing to Jared Goff correctly, but nonetheless, he called it, and we still can't believe it to this day. What a beautiful play.
And I tell you what, if it happens in the game, we got the soundbite. He called it.
That's true. We will have evidence. We are recording this, a couple hours before game time on July 31st, the first Thursday of the NFL season. Yeah, Dad, let's think about tonight. So we're not going to, like I said in this intro, we're not going to see our starters. We're probably not going to see many of our highly touted rookies that we drafted in the draft. However, I know that a favorite player of yours is probably going to get some reps tonight, Mr. Thomas Kennedy, number 85 wide receiver for our Detroit Lions. Do you have a play that maybe regards him, or do you think we're going to see something else a little different, maybe from a different player?
I hope they give him enough time to make the team and be there in the lurch to ready to come in when they need him. That's what I'd like. But my prediction today would be activate Barry Sanders, let him run a touchdown, activate Calvin Johnson, he scores a touchdown, and then Dan Campbell puts out there and he scores a touchdown too. So I would these people are telling our players how to do it. Let's have them show them how to do it.
All right. So there's a reason why we call this Steve's Crazy Play of the Game.
I think I got to find a cuckoo.
So the big thing about that, and why Josh and I are laughing very hard, is we did a little test run of this the night before. And when we talked about what Dad's Crazy Play of the Game could be, I believe Josh did in fact say they're going to bring Barry Sanders out of retirement to run a couple plays.
Matter of fact, in our test run, I think I'm going to have to bring that clip up.
I hope you recorded it.
If Carter got it, we got it.
I don't know if you got it. I think you just got the chocolate milk thing. But just in case, roll that clip if we have it.
Everybody else? Our father, Steve, take it away. What is your craziest prediction of the game this season today?
Barry Sanders come out of retirement. He's going to score a touchdown in the first drive.
What? Barry Sanders? Where'd you pull that one up? Who?
All right. Good stuff.
See, I called it.
All right, Dad. Well, hey, guess what? You're already here, and we're going to just keep you on, all right? We're going to ask you a couple more things here. So we talked about your crazy play prediction, right? So we're going to talk about some season predictions we have. So first of all, I'm going to run you through some stats, and I'm going to run you by one stat I think you're going to really enjoy. So I got a little piece of paper here. It's got our Lions season stats. So our passing leader for the season, to no surprise, was Jared Goff, NFL MVP finalist Jared Goff at 4,629 yards. He completed 390 passes for 539 attempts for 72.4 completion. I don't have the rate compared to other quarterbacks, but that was one of the highest percentage completions, as well as that perfect 18 for 18 game he had earlier in the season. He also threw for 37 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, which is an insane number when you think that he had 5 in one single game. If he only threw one of those and not the other 4, that would have been 37. I'm blanked on math right there. That's embarrassing. That would have been 37-7, 37-8. He was sacked 31 times, so, a lot of teams really had to bring pressure against him in order to stop him, and very rarely did a team stop him. In fact, only 3 teams could really stop him all season long. We had 2 dynamite rushers this season. Jahmyr Gibbs was our leading rusher. He also led the NFL in touchdowns. So he ran for 1,412 yards, and he scored 16 passing and rushing touchdowns, as well as 4 receiving touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, all-pro wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, had 1,263 receiving yards as our receiving leader. Big Captain Jack Campbell, 131 tackles, and Kirby Joseph, Superman, led the entire NFL with 9 interceptions, going to his first All-Pro nomination. So if we talk about a couple other things I want to bring up, David Montgomery missed some serious time with some injuries this year, but he still had accumulated 775 yards and 12 touchdowns, which is pretty impressive, as well as I do want to highlight one, Jamison Williams, had himself 1,001 yards, so we had 2 1,000-yard rushers. Receivers. And then he also scored 7 touchdowns as well as a couple rushing touchdowns, which gave the Lions 4 players on their team with over 10 touchdowns on the season. A very impressive feat. Not many teams can pull that off. But this offense last year, this historic offense the Lions had, definitely was able to do that. But one highlight I do want to bring up, if we go down to our returning stats, our returning leader may surprise you. I think all of us remember, Khalif Raymond and Khalil Dorsey having some really darn long rushes. But according to ESPN ESPN.com stats, the leading kick returner for the Detroit Lions for 4 games played, 6 attempts, 167 yards returning for a 27.8 average as our biggest returner for the year. Dad, I'll give you 3 guesses on who that player was.
Name
3 names. Name 3 names.
You're going to have to ask the question again.
Okay. Who led, which Detroit Lion player led the team in return yards this past season? Give you 3 guesses.
Tom Kennedy.
He only needed 1 guess. That is Tom Kennedy with 6 attempts for 167 yards, a longest return of 34. So look at that. I would say that he's earning a spot right there. Another highlight to talk about, our kicking leader this year. We only had 1 kicker all season. Jake Bates, Michigan Panther legend, can kick from 60 plus. Apparently no problem. So we're going to talk about we're going to jump ahead. We're going to talk about which players' stats will lead the team. So we'll just go down the line. We'll do a little rapid fire. Who do you think is going to be our passing leader this season? We'll start with you, Josh.
Got to go Goff.
Dad?
Oh, yeah. He's top notch. I don't know why the media doesn't give him more credit. They love talking about the running quarterbacks when Goff is as dependable as anyone can be when it comes to passing. The only thing is he does zip it in there, so the receivers need to get ready to catch an accurate, strong pass.
Yep. So I do agree. I think Jared Goff will be our leader. Once again, I think the Lions' biggest issue will always be something I would like to not say out loud. That we saw a lot of last year. So rushing leader, do you think Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery or maybe a surprise other player will step up to be our leading rusher? We'll start with you this time, Dad.
I think Gibbs, he just is a shade under Barry Sanders, in my opinion, because he has moves, he can get away from people. He just has those skills. David Montgomery, you kind of like him to push it in, but he's capable of running the long one too. But I think Gibbs will have more yards rushing.
All right, Josh.
I'm going to have to go with Gibbs too. Healthy the entire season. Montgomery's not going to be too far behind him. Obviously he's our strong back, our guy that's, just look at that last series with against the Rams. He was a man on a mission, and he accomplished it. So I think this season his goal is probably going to be neck and neck with Ja.
Yeah, and I think that's the strength of this Lions offense. Not only was the offensive line historically a strength, but, we have some darn good receivers and a darn good quarterback. But just having a 2-headed monster, Jahmyr Gibbs is establishing himself as one of the top running backs in football. You don't have speed like that. You don't have the moves like that. The balance he has is incredible, but that does not diminish the player that David Montgomery is. A truly undervalued not undervalued by our Detroit Lions, but a truly underrated player in the eyes of the sports world. So for sure. Now
he's steady. That's what you can say about Montgomery.
He's very steady. So let's move to receiving.
First of all, we're going to finish my mystery man in rushing. And that should be Hendon Hooker.
Okay, so
You bring him in the right play, and he has skills of the running quarterback, and so put him in,
Which you don't like.
which I don't like, right?
well, when Hendon Hooker has to take the
Well, when he has to be on the sideline and not be a part of the win, I mean it's other ways, but putting him out there for a few rushes gets him ready in case we need to have him come in.
yeah,
So
of course. So
he's the mystery rushing guy.
yep. So, Dad, thank you for including that. We are trying to run through this last couple segments here. So let's just talk about receiving really quick. We have two very big standout wide receivers, as well as one of the most talented young tight ends of the game in Sam Laporta, which we've not really talked about this season. Had maybe the catch of the year against the Washington Commanders. Truly incredible. Jared Goff falling down, catching that. But we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably the most reliable hands in the league, as well as Jamison Williams, who has a claim to the single fastest player in football. Had 1,000 yards himself. So who do you think is going to be receiving or be the receiving leader? Just pick a name. Don't give me a reason. Josh.
I'm going to have to go with St. Brown.
Towards the end there, players were watching him so much, it forced Goff to go away from him. I hope they figure out a way to go to him as much as anybody because he is, again, dependable and he's clutch. And so, but it'd be interesting to share the pie and have other people join in that.
For sure.
And it just makes the other teams hard to cover us all. And that new kid, where's he from?
Hillsdale. Or he played at Hillsdale.
Hillsdale and then, transfer.
Yeah.
That new
Tesla.
Tesla.
Yeah. I'd like to see him be a good weapon to use too.
Yeah. I'm gonna step away from both of you though. I am going to say I think Jamison Williams will lead this team in receiving this year, at least in receiving yards, because I do think that Johnny Morton, our new offensive coordinator, really wants to utilize the special talent that Jamison Williams has, because you cannot teach speed. I don't want to diminish the player Amon-Ra St. Brown as he is a top wide receiver in football, but I do think they're going to really try to utilize Jamison Williams, and I think we're going to get a full season out of him. I feel like he's starting to make the right decisions. He's staying away from the gambling stuff, and I think he's really learned, and I think he's being held accountable. So I do think Jamison Williams will take a step up. I'm predicting at least 1,400 yards out of him this season. All right, so that's the main stats. We're not going to talk about defense today. I think offense is kind of what we're mostly excited about. We'll talk about defense probably next episode. All right, so we're with Cousin Lyle here, at the pregame kind of podcast. We're calling it Outside the Den, Totally won't get trademarked or won't get any cease and desist for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard before.
No, definitely not. It is untitled, though. We're still working on it. But yeah, so we are at the Hall of Fame game watch party here. So we're here a couple hours beforehand the game starts. So, Cousin Lyle, we're going to ask you a couple questions. So you're just going to kind of rapid fire through them. First of all, last season was one special season for our Detroit Lions. Do you have a favorite memory or moment from the season, whether it's a big play, a big win, maybe a moment with family and friends that you remember specifically?
Yeah, just a few memories right here in the room that we're looking at here. Just the way that we had the Texans game, the way that seemed to be going wrong, but everything pulling out in the end. The Jake Bates field goal, something that was exciting. Then we had San Francisco. I think that was at the game where we had some shenanigans going on with the kicker, and we were able to blow the ball off of the field goal for the other team there. Just a great run of excellence and just always having a feeling like the Lions always had a chance in every game right up until that last game, which we're not even going to go any further into, but still knew they could do it. I still had the faith that they could pull it out. Just didn't end up happening for that game, but we're excited by a new season.
Yeah, of course, is tough thing to look at, but you do bring up the game, and we are actually potentially going to talk about it. We had some highs, we had some lows. What's a letdown from last season that really sticks out to you?
I mean, besides the obvious there, I think it really was Buffalo and just the way that, we knew that there were some problems that we had there, but we thought maybe it was going to be an opportunity to measure ourselves and see that this was something that if they could overcome this, they could overcome anything. And it was just that helpless feeling with the defense against Josh Allen and the way that they were throwing to the running backs and just, every time they needed something, Buffalo was able to get it against us. That was kind of the foreboding thing. And when I saw that happening in the Washington game, it just brought back that memory, and I knew that, okay, this is maybe not going to be something where it ends up being our year.
Yeah, truly unfortunate, but truly a letdown. Hi, Janine. Nope, that's fine. We can cut it out. Walk through it. It's okay. Things will get cut out. All right.
Cameo appearance.
No
Nice.
problem. So, Hall of Fame game prediction. How do you think today's game is going to go? Obviously, preseason, a lot of starters not playing, a lot of star rookies or highly touted rookies not playing. How do you think the game's going to go tonight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty vanilla situation here. I don't see a lot of bag of tricks things going on here. I do think they're going to be concentrating on some of the fundamentals, trying to see how whoever it is that's starting on the offensive line, how they're gelling and what they're trying to do. So I do see this as being kind of a, maybe not the most exciting game in the world. I think a lot of work on what the trenches are doing, how the secondary is looking at some of those things. I feel like it's going to be a fast game. It's going to go by pretty quickly, and it's going to be something low scoring, maybe something in the range of like 20-17, something like that.
Right, I understand. Yeah, Lions or Chargers pulling out ahead? Do you think?
Yeah, because I have a feeling the way that it's looking is maybe Hendon Hooker's going to be second half is kind of what I'm hearing. So I see him, getting a chance to test in a 2-minute situation, him coming through. The Lions score 6 points at the end to get to that 20-17, maybe go for 2 just to try a 2-point conversion and maybe don't get it there, but we still end up winning at 2017.
Give us a hint of what Dan Gamble's going to look like going into the 2025 season for sure.
100%. We always love it.
Yeah, of course. So now we're going to talk about season predictions. We're going to start with stats. Have a list of stats for you. We talked about a little bit ahead of, previously earlier in the episode. What do you think? Who do you think our passing leader is going to be? And any notes on that?
I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess. I think Jared Goff is going to be our passing leader. I do see it dipping just a little bit from his 4,600 from last year. I see it maybe in the 4,400 range, 4,400, but it's going to be pretty consistent. I just think that there's going to be some other things that we can talk about later that are going to take up a few of those yards off of Jared's plate.
Yeah, of course. So we have so we're going to go right into the rushing yards. We're focusing on offense in this episode. Probably the biggest highlight of this team, besides obviously the stud out of the University of Michigan, Aiden Hutchinson. But we're going to talk about our rushing attack now. Who do you think are going to be the rushing leader? You have 2 great choices to pick from. You have, Jahmyr Gibbs going into, I believe, his 3rd year, who's established himself as one of the top running backs in football, maybe the fastest running back in football. Moves that you don't really see too much out of really any players in the league currently, as well as the very underrated but not underappreciated David Montgomery. The bit of a bruiser, but man, he can really turn on the Jets when he needs to. Has some pretty major catches, including that one that ran over Devin Witherspoon in that Seahawks game, while also dodging every other Seahawk out there on the field. Barely touched, and he ran for 30 yards after that, and he ran out of bounds and. He ran right through Devin Witherspoon. Obviously, you have Craig Reynolds, Sione Vaki. You have some other guys who vying for this team, who could get reps, barring the worst. But who do you think is going to lead this team in rushing this year?
I do think it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. I do think that they're going to give him even more focus going forward here. And, him staying healthy, I don't think that there's any doubt that he's reaching 1,600 yards rushing this year. I think that that's going to be something that they're going to make sure to force feed just a little bit, make sure that he's heavily involved in the game plan. I think we're going to see that we're just scraping the surface from last year when he gets a chance to tote the rock this year.
Yeah, I think the offensive line questions and concerns, adding a lot of new pieces on the interior, obviously the retirement of Frank Ragnow, one of the greatest one of the best centers in the NFL for the past, 6 seasons probably, as well as our 1-year essentially loan of Kevin Zeitler, who was also an absolute rock on that offensive line. I think there's going to be a lot of questions there, but I do think the strength of this team is still, running behind Penei Sewell with that offensive line. Still a lot of talented players, a lot of unproven talent there, but the running game is just so deadly, especially when you have a 2-headed monster like the Lions have. So now we're going to talk about receiving, and we got a couple options here. We have obviously all-pro two-time All-Pro wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe the safest, most reliable hands in the entire league. Slightly undersized, but there's not many better route runners out there, as well as the speed demon that is Jamison Williams, JMO. He might be the fastest player in the NFL. We don't know. I'd love to see that foot race, as well as one of the best young tight ends in Sam Laporta. Had maybe I mentioned this earlier, may have had the catch of the season in that Commanders game. But who do you think is going to be the receiving leader this season? There's a couple really interesting options. Obviously, Jamison Williams is apparently killing it in camp. It seems like Johnny Moe is really giving him interesting routes. His route running's improved as well as his deep threat abilities there. But you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who can easily get thrown 14 times and catch 13 to 14 of those a game.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with my man, the Sun God. Guy is unbelievable, just knows how to play the game, prepares every week, does what he's supposed to do. I do think that it's going to be interesting. You'll see him, probably right around that same receiving yardage there, that 1,200, 1,300 yards, but you will get a test from JMO this year, no doubt about it. He's, from everything we've heard, he's running the new route tree. He's more involved in some of the intermediate throws, and we know what he can do not only with the long ball, but, some of those gadget plays, screens, bubble screens, quick reverses, that kind of thing. So he's going to be, if you were to add up their rushing and receiving, I would think that you might see JMO with a bit more of a total overall rushing and receiving.
Yeah, so thank you, Josh. You just turned on the camera, but no worries.
Oh.
You're gonna have this audio just fine. Lyle, screenshot really quick so we have something to play while we're off camera. Perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, so like I said, we focused on offense there. Future episode, maybe even next week against Atlanta, we'll talk a little bit more about the defense because there are some really standout players to talk about on defense. But now we're going to go through the schedule of this Detroit Lions. Josh will be tallying these up, posting them. This will be part of our predictions episode right here. Same with your player predictions as well. But I'm going to go through the 2025 season. We're just going to do the regular season because let's be honest, we don't really care that much about preseason. We're just hoping our players are healthy and can just, make it through the day.
Yeah, staring at some of that depth and trying to see, okay, who is it if something were to happen?
Absolutely.
Who can fill in and really provide that same kind of boost and spark that those starters can.
Thank you again, Cousin Lyle. But yeah, we're going to get going so we can go watch the Hall of Fame game. So go Lions, one pride. Anything to say, Lyle, before you?
No, you said it all. Go Lions.
Dad, Steve, thank you for joining us. Sure. We love you, sir. Josh, good stuff. So yeah, that was episode 1 of Outside the Den as we get ready to kick off the Detroit Lions starting their preseason tonight against the Los Angeles Chargers. My name is Jake. That's Josh. This is Dad. Brought to you by 530 Productions. This was Outside the Den. Have a good night, one pride, and go Lions, baby.
All grit.